Ethan's boots clanged against the metal floor as he sprinted through the dark corridors of the abandoned research station. A low, eerie sound echoed from somewhere below, a soft whimper almost like a child crying. He froze for a heartbeat, straining to hear over the hum of failing lights. The sound came again, higher, sharper, trembling with fear. Something was down there, trapped and alone. He didn't hesitate. Heart pounding, he grabbed a fire extinguisher from the wall and ran toward the source of the noise. The corridor ended in a heavy hatch, marked with warning signs in a language he didn't recognize. A faint, greenish glow seeped from its edges. Ethan could feel the fear and urgency pressing down on him. Whoever, or whatever, was inside needed help. He had to act. With a deep breath, he wedged the extinguisher under the hatch and pried. The metal groaned loudly, echoing down the empty hall. From the glow beneath, a strange pulse of light flickered, like it was breathing in time with his own heartbeat. Ethan's hand shook slightly as he pushed harder, and finally the hatch shifted enough for him to peek inside. There she was. A small figure curled in the corner, skin shimmering faintly with colors he had never seen before, greens, blues, and a pale silver that almost looked wet. Her eyes were large, black, and full of fear, blinking rapidly at the sudden intrusion. She made a sound, part whine, part cry, that hit Ethan straight in the chest. He crouched, speaking softly, "I'm here to help. You're safe now." Her tiny body trembled. Ethan's mind raced. Why was she locked away? Who could do this to a creature so fragile, yet so alive? He scanned the room quickly. Old wires snaked across the floor, broken glass glimmered in the weak light, and a faint chemical smell stung his nose. It was clear no one had cared for this girl in weeks, maybe months. Hunger and fear had left her frail, but she still clung to life. A sudden vibration shook the floor beneath him, and the lights flickered violently. Ethan cursed under his breath. The station's security drones were active again. He could hear the whirring motors and clanking metal of their patrols in the distance. He had seconds to decide, stay and risk capture or find a way to get her out. His mind moved fast, calculating options. He took off his jacket, gently wrapping it around her tiny frame. The girl flinched at first, then slowly pressed closer, her glow softening against his chest. A small payoff, a sign of trust. Ethan allowed himself a brief, sharp breath. Every second mattered. The first drone rounded the corner. Its sensors glowed red, scanning, searching. Ethan froze, then ducked low, dragging the girl behind a stack of crates. The drone's heavy steps echoed ominously, and he could hear its mechanical voice repeating a warning in a language he didn't understand. Holding his breath, he waited until the machine passed, then ran toward a narrow stairwell that led down further into the station's depths. As they descended, the whimpering girl clung tighter. Ethan's heart ached at her helplessness, but it fueled his determination. He couldn't just save one life, he had to outsmart the system that wanted her gone. Each step was careful, precise. One wrong move and they'd be trapped. The station's low hum grew louder, like it was alive, reacting to their presence. Then came the tremor. The floor shuddered violently, throwing Ethan and the girl to the side. Sparks flew from a damaged conduit, and the glow from her skin flared in panic. He scrambled to steady them both. The station was unstable, and something deeper, maybe structural collapse, maybe something else, was moving around them. Danger was no longer just the drones, the station itself seemed against them. He pressed forward, following the faint pulsing glow, which now seemed to guide him. She wasn't just a helpless creature. There was intelligence in that light, an unspoken connection forming between them. Every pulse felt like a heartbeat, every shimmer a silent message: trust me and survive. At the bottom of the stairwell, a locked door blocked the way. Ethan crouched, scanning for weaknesses. He could hear the patrolling drones growing closer, metallic footsteps echoing through the hall. He didn't have time to worry, only to act. He grabbed a nearby metal rod and began prying at the lock, sparks flying as the metal strained. Suddenly, a sharp hiss echoed from the shadows. The girl's glow spiked, bathing the stairwell in brilliant green light. Something moved, something large and unseen, and it wasn't the drones. Ethan's pulse raced. The next second would decide everything: escape or capture, life or death. He pushed harder on the lock, bracing for whatever waited in the darkness. The door shuddered but did not give. Behind him, the station groaned, and the faint whimper of the girl grew desperate. Something was coming fast, something he hadn't expected. Ethan's hand froze for a heartbeat, then he forced himself to act again, harder, faster, with all his strength. The air felt electric, alive with tension. And then a low metallic click sounded. The lock began to give. But with it came a sudden, shrill alarm. The station had noticed them. Red lights flashed and the first drone turned sharply toward them, sensors glowing brighter than ever. Ethan's eyes met the girl's. Fear and trust mixed in her gaze. His jaw tightened. There was no turning back now. The hatch was open, but so was the danger. And just as he prepared to pull her through, a shadow moved across the doorway, a figure bigger than any drone, silent, with glowing eyes that weren't hers. Something else was in the basement with them. Ethan's heart pounded. The real threat wasn't just the drones anymore. And it was coming closer. Ethan didn't pause. The shadow in the doorway moved with unnatural speed, gliding across the floor like it was part of the darkness itself. He pressed the alien girl closer to his chest, feeling the warmth of her trembling body, the soft pulse of her glowing skin against his hands. Her light flickered rapidly, a warning he instinctively understood. Something was very wrong. The first drone reached the stairwell, its sensors scanning every corner. Ethan grabbed a loose panel from the wall and threw it across the hallway. It clanged loudly, drawing the drone's attention just long enough for him to duck behind the stairwell railing. Sparks flew as the metal hit the ground, and the drone hesitated, whirring and recalibrating. It was fast but not smart. Ethan had learned that much already. He began moving again, dragging the girl toward a second door further down the corridor. She clung tightly, her light pulsing in sync with his heartbeat as if guiding him. But the shadow didn't follow the same path as the drones. It stayed silent, unseen, lurking. Fear tightened Ethan's chest. He realized he didn't just have to escape the patrols, he had to survive whatever else was in the basement. The narrow corridor opened into a wider chamber. Rusted pipes crisscrossed the ceiling, dripping condensation that hissed when it hit the flickering lights. Ethan's eyes adjusted to the dim green glow from the girl, revealing old containment units stacked against the walls. Some were shattered, others sealed tight, each humming faintly with residual energy. He realized with a pang that the girl wasn't the only one who had been trapped here. Others had come before her, and most had not survived. A low growl echoed from the far side of the room, vibrating through the metal floor. The shadow was close now, something alive, and it didn't sound like a machine. The girl pressed herself harder against Ethan, and for a moment, her glowing markings expanded, bathing the chamber in light so bright it made the shadows recoil. Ethan had never seen anything like it. Whatever she wasn't just fragile. A hatch at the far end of the room led to another staircase. Ethan knew it was their only chance. But the growl grew louder, closer, and the drone that had been distracted now turned toward them, sensors scanning the chamber. Time was slipping away. He scanned the walls, looking for anything to give them an advantage. His eyes fell on a broken control panel. Sparks flew where wires hung loose. A risky idea formed. He shoved the girl gently to the floor, crouching next to the panel. "Stay low," he whispered. She didn't argue. Her glow dimmed as she crouched behind a stack of crates, watching him with wide, trusting eyes. Ethan yanked at the exposed wires, connecting two that shouldn't have been connected. A surge of electricity jumped across the room, and the drones jolted, their sensors failing for a moment. A small payoff but crucial. The larger shadow hissed and recoiled from the sudden sparks. Ethan didn't wait. He grabbed the girl, bolted toward the hatch, and kicked it open. The staircase led downward into near-total darkness. Ethan led the girl carefully, counting his steps, listening for the patrols or the shadow. Something in the darkness moved again. A flicker of green from the girl, a sudden hiss from the shadow, a metallic scrape from above. Each sound made his heart jump, but he kept moving. Every second counted. Halfway down the stairs, the floor trembled again. Pipes rattled violently overhead. Ethan froze for a fraction of a second, calculating the risk. Then a piece of the ceiling collapsed ahead, blocking their path. He glanced back. The drones were approaching, sensors flashing, but the shadow had vanished. The girl whimpered softly, fear and fatigue blending in her tiny body. Ethan swallowed hard, fighting panic, and looked around for another way. He noticed a narrow service tunnel running alongside the staircase. It was tight, barely wide enough to squeeze through, but it led in the direction he needed. He motioned for the girl to follow and crawled in first. Her light barely fit, but it illuminated enough to guide their way. Sparks from exposed wires cast sharp shadows on the walls, creating the illusion of movement around them. Every shadow made Ethan flinch, every sound made him glance over his shoulder. Halfway through the tunnel, the girl suddenly stiffened. Her glow spiked violently, blinding Ethan for a second. Something was in the tunnel with them, something small, quick, and metallic. A probe of some kind? It skittered across the floor, hissing. Ethan reacted instinctively, kicking it into the wall. It sparked, then fizzled out of commission. Small payoff, but it gave him a surge of hope. They moved on, only to hear a deep, resonant hum from below. Ethan froze. The station was alive in ways he hadn't expected. The hum vibrated in his chest, in the girl's glow, in the metal walls. It was almost like the station itself was aware of them, a subtle reminder that danger wasn't just external. The girl's pulse quickened, her glow reacting to the vibration. Ethan realized she could sense it. Her abilities might be more than just light. Another flash of sparks ahead revealed a partially collapsed floor. He hesitated, weighing the risk. One slip could mean falling into darkness, alone. But hesitation would also mean capture. With a deep breath, he lifted the girl over the rubble, her small body trembling, trusting him completely. A tiny payoff, she didn't scream, she didn't resist. At the end of the tunnel, they reached a massive, reinforced door. Sensors glowed red around its edges. Ethan crouched, examining the lock. The station was alive with alarms now. Red lights strobed down the tunnels, mechanical voices repeated warnings in alien tones. Sweat ran down his face, but he didn't panic. He was fast, resourceful, human. And he refused to fail. He began prying at the lock with the same rod he had used earlier. Sparks flew. The girl's glow flared in response, pulsing faster as if warning him. And then, from the darkness behind them, came a sound unlike anything he had heard, a low, vibrating growl that seemed to come from everywhere at once. The ground shook beneath them. The station groaned as if alive, ready to swallow them. Ethan's heart hammered, his hands shaking, but he pushed harder on the lock. He had no choice. Every second counted, every decision mattered. The lock clicked. The door shuddered slightly but didn't budge. From somewhere deeper in the station, a voice, metallic and distorted, whispered a single word in a language Ethan didn't understand. Yet he felt the meaning clearly: stop. Ethan's eyes met the girl's. Her light pulsed wildly. The danger wasn't just above the door or behind the drones, it was bigger, smarter, and closer than either of them had imagined. He pressed himself against the door, ready to force it open, heart hammering, knowing that whatever came next could change everything. And then the floor beneath them cracked. Ethan froze as the floor beneath him groaned, jagged cracks spiderwebbing out from where he and the girl crouched. The station trembled again, harsher this time, and debris rained down from the pipes overhead. The girl's glow flared wildly, almost blinding him in the darkness. Her pulse seemed to sync with the vibrations of the station, like she was connected to it somehow. Ethan's mind raced. Whatever this place was, it wasn't just abandoned. Something deeper, alive, and intelligent lurked in its bowels. He forced himself to focus. The reinforced door in front of them was their only chance. Each second the floor shifted, the air growing thick with dust and the metallic scent of machinery. The girl whimpered softly, pressing her body closer to his chest, trembling with fear. He whispered, "I won't let them hurt you. We'll get out." His voice was calm, even though his own heartbeat rattled in his ears. He had to keep them both steady, had to keep control. The lock on the door was stubborn, but Ethan's mind worked faster than fear. He probed the edges with the metal rod, feeling for weak points. That's when he noticed something odd. Faint, strange symbols etched into the metal around the lock. They glowed briefly whenever the girl's skin pulsed. Ethan bent closer, trying to understand. The symbols shifted subtly, almost like they were alive, responding to her. A sudden thought hit him. "She's not just a victim," he whispered, barely audible. "She's part of this station somehow." The realization made his pulse spike. She had abilities he hadn't understood yet, abilities that might be the key to survival. If she could interact with the environment like this, they might not just escape, they might even control it. But before he could explore the idea, a loud crash echoed behind them. The shadow from the previous corridor had returned, moving faster this time, closer. Ethan felt the hair on his neck stand on end. The girl's glow flared again, brighter and stronger. Ethan instinctively shielded her, the warmth of her small body against his chest giving him a surge of courage. He pried at the lock with renewed determination, ignoring the shuddering floor beneath him. Sparks flew from the metal rod as it scraped against the lock, the noise loud enough to echo through the empty chamber. The shadow hissed, low and resonant, and Ethan felt the vibration in his chest. It wasn't just following, they were being hunted, deliberately, by something that understood them. Then suddenly the lock clicked. The door shuddered, and a section of the wall beside it slid open with a hiss of hydraulics. A hidden compartment revealed itself, filled with old containment files and holotables. Ethan's eyes widened. He had stumbled upon something no one had expected. records of experiments, species data, and a schematic showing the girl's exact physiology. She was part of a rare alien species, hunted for her unique energy-manipulating abilities. The realization hit him like a punch. Whoever had locked her away didn't just want to hide her. They wanted to use her. To weaponize her. And that meant the station wasn't abandoned at all. It was a trap, a holding facility for those who couldn't defend themselves. The stakes were higher than Ethan had imagined. The girl pressed her hand against the metal floor, and Ethan noticed the glow intensify, pulsing in a rhythm that seemed to mimic the schematics. His mind clicked. She can manipulate energy, he thought. She can control the station if I let her. But trusting her fully meant putting everything on the line. One mistake, one wrong command, and the station could collapse on them. He made a choice. Ethan knelt beside her, gently placing his hands over hers. "We do this together," he said. Her glow responded instantly, stronger, warmer, guiding his hands toward the correct panels on the wall. Sparks danced and lights flickered as if the station itself recognized her. A small payoff, a previously locked emergency hatch clicked open, giving them a path forward. But relief was short-lived. From the corner of his eye, the shadow shifted again. Faster, larger, and more threatening. It had learned, adapting to their movements, and it wasn't mechanical this time. Whatever it was alive and intelligent, hunting them with purpose. Ethan's stomach twisted with fear, but he clenched his jaw. Panic wasn't an option. He had to be smarter, faster, better than this predator. He grabbed the girl, sprinting toward the emergency hatch. The glow from her skin illuminated the tunnel ahead, casting long, twisting shadows. The sound of rushing metal and the hissing shadow behind them made every step tense. Ethan leaped over fallen debris, pressed through narrow passages, and shielded the girl with his body. Every movement had a consequence. One slip and they could be crushed or captured. Halfway through the hatch, a section of the floor above them collapsed violently. Dust and sparks rained down. Ethan stumbled but held the girl close. Her glow flared so bright that it lit the small tunnel, revealing an intricate pattern on the walls. Patterns that matched the schematics he had seen. She wasn't just a passenger. She was part of the station's hidden system, the key to navigating it safely. Suddenly, a high-pitched whine filled the tunnel. The drones above had discovered their path. Red lights flashed down the walls, sensors scanning aggressively. Ethan's muscles tensed. He whispered urgently, "We can't let them catch us. Not now." The girl responded, pulsing brighter than ever, sending a surge of energy that short-circuited a section of the tunnel. Sparks flew, and one of the pursuing drones collided with the wall, sparking and falling silent. Ethan allowed himself a tiny sharp breath of victory, a small payoff in a storm of danger. But before they could celebrate, the shadow reappeared ahead, blocking the narrow exit of the hatch. Its glowing eyes were fixed on them, moving with uncanny intelligence. Ethan froze. He had faced impossible odds before, but this was different. The shadow wasn't just hunting, they were cornered. He looked at the girl, whose glow now pulsed in urgent rhythm with his own heartbeat. There was no turning back. Whatever came next, they had to face it together. Ethan tightened his grip on her, prepared for whatever the station, or the shadow, threw at them. And then, the floor beneath the shadow began to split, sparks and metal rising as if the station itself had chosen sides. The path forward was opening, but at a cost. And as the shadow hissed, a sudden high-pitched vibration shot through the tunnel, shaking them both violently. The girl's light exploded in a flash, revealing something terrifying and unexpected behind the shadow. Something bigger, alive, and moving faster than Ethan could comprehend. Ethan's hands trembled, but he tightened his grip on the alien girl, feeling the steady pulse of her glowing skin against his chest. The tunnel ahead was jagged and unstable, the metal groaning with every step. The shadow loomed before them, larger and more menacing than anything he had imagined. Its glowing eyes followed them, tracking, calculating, waiting for a mistake. The girl's glow flared suddenly, brighter than before, washing the walls in green and silver light. Ethan realized she wasn't just scared, she was preparing, reacting to him, the station, and the shadow all at once. He understood in a flash. They could use her abilities to fight back, to create openings, to escape. He whispered urgently, "We do this together. Trust me." The shadow hissed and lunged forward, moving faster than Ethan thought possible. He ducked instinctively, rolling behind a protruding pipe. The girl pressed tightly against him. Sparks from the flickering overhead lights rained down, and the drone alarms shrieked in response. Every movement had to be precise. One false step could mean being crushed or captured. Ethan spotted a set of exposed energy conduits along the tunnel wall. If he could reroute them using the girl's power, they might create a barrier or distraction. He motioned for her to focus, placing her hands near the exposed wires. Her glow intensified, pulsing in waves that matched the station's vibrations. Sparks erupted as energy surged, short-circuiting a section of the tunnel. The shadow shrieked, recoiling, giving them a fraction of a second to move. Small payoff, but it was enough. He sprinted forward, carrying her through the narrow tunnel, ducking under low-hanging pipes. The shadow recovered quickly, skittering after them with unnatural speed. Ethan's breath came in sharp bursts, but he forced his mind to stay sharp, calculating each movement, anticipating the shadow's next attack. The floor shuddered violently as a section collapsed behind them, sending debris clattering and sparks flying. Ethan stumbled but caught himself, holding the girl close. Her glow pulsed rapidly, illuminating a hidden panel on the far wall. He realized it was another access point, likely to a maintenance shaft that could lead them outside. He ran toward it, but the shadow wasn't done. From above, a metallic screech echoed. One of the patrol drones, repaired or rerouted by the station itself, dropped from a grated ceiling, aiming directly at them. Ethan grabbed a loose pipe and swung, striking it just as the girl's glow flared again. The energy pulse fused with the impact, short-circuiting the drone and sending it crashing to the floor. Another small payoff, another step forward. They reached the maintenance hatch. Ethan pried at the heavy cover while the shadow lunged from the darkness, claws scraping metal, eyes blazing. He shoved the girl through the hatch first, then followed himself, tumbling into a narrow shaft filled with a rushing draft. The girl's light bathed the shaft, reflecting off metal surfaces, making the darkness shimmer with motion. The shadow followed partially, but Ethan realized it couldn't fit fully through the narrow space. He pushed the hatch closed behind them, blocking its path temporarily. Their escape wasn't complete, but it was a start. The shaft sloped downward, leading them into a maintenance corridor lit by flickering emergency lights. Ethan's lungs burned, but he didn't stop. He scanned quickly, exposed conduits, emergency panels, and a weak structural wall that might give them another exit. He used the girl's glow to trigger a panel, sending a surge of energy across the corridor, short-circuiting a security barrier. Small victory. But the station wasn't done testing them. A section of ceiling pipes collapsed suddenly, forcing Ethan to dodge and shield the girl. Dust and debris filled the air and sparks fell like rain. The girl whimpered but didn't resist Ethan's guiding hands. Her glow pulsed brighter with every narrow escape, reinforcing their connection. He realized her abilities were amplifying with each danger, responding to his courage, focus, and determination. They reached a control room that had survived the station's decay. Ethan noticed a console showing schematics of the entire lower section. He quickly scanned for a route to the surface. His hands shook slightly, but he worked methodically, calculating the safest path. The girl's glow highlighted hidden access panels, giving him critical insights he couldn't see alone. A sudden vibration shook the floor again. The shadow was still nearby, sensing hunting. Ethan grabbed a heavy metal bar and positioned himself between it and the girl. He could hear its hiss, low and resonant, and for the first time, it felt almost like it was taunting him. He steadied his breath and whispered, "You don't scare me." The words were as much for himself as for the creature. The shadow lunged again, faster than expected. Ethan moved in perfect sync with the girl's energy pulses, dodging, striking, guiding her powers toward the shadow. Sparks flew, lights flickered, and the creature recoiled as the combined human-alien effort disrupted its movement. Another small payoff, the first time they had forced it back. Ethan didn't stop. They pressed through the control room, using every available panel and conduit to create obstacles and slow their pursuers. Every move, every pulse, every decision mattered. Sweat ran down his face, muscles burned, but he refused to falter. Human courage, intelligence, and determination were shining through, against impossible odds. At the final section of the corridor, a reinforced door barred the way. Ethan pressed his hands against it, feeling the vibration of the station and the girl's glow guiding him. With one combined push, using brute strength and her energy pulse, the door shuddered and swung open. Light from outside spilled in. Freedom, or at least the next stage of it, was just ahead. But as Ethan and the girl emerged into the open chamber, a new sound froze them both. Deep, mechanical, and alive, the sound of multiple drones converging. The station wasn't done. They had reached the climax of danger, and the real trial had just begun. Ethan's chest heaved, but he smiled faintly. He held the girl closer, ready to face whatever came next. Their courage, ingenuity, and bond had carried them this far. And now they would face the station's final test together. The chamber's exit ahead glowed faintly in green emergency light, promising escape, and new dangers waiting just beyond the next threshold. Ethan's boots hit the metal floor of the open chamber, echoing in the vast, abandoned station. The air was thick with smoke and dust, and sparks fell from overhead conduits like fireflies. The alien girl clung to his chest, her glowing skin pulsing rapidly, lighting the shadows around them. He had no idea what waited beyond the corridor, but he knew one thing. He couldn't stop now. Every second mattered. Ahead, the exit hatch glimmered faintly under emergency lighting. Outside, a faint wind whispered through vents and broken panels, carrying the promise of freedom. Ethan gritted his teeth and took a step forward, then another, keeping his body between the girl and the dangers behind them. The shadow they had been fleeing had vanished for the moment, but its presence lingered in the trembling walls and the low hum of the station. He could feel the girl's pulse synchronizing with his own, her glow stabilizing as if she were drawing strength from his determination. "Almost there," he whispered. She pressed closer, her fear mingling with trust, and Ethan realized how much she depended on him. Every move he made, every decision could save her life, or cost it. That realization sharpened his focus. As they approached the hatch, a sudden tremor shook the floor. Ethan stumbled, the girl clinging tighter. Sparks rained from above as loose panels dislodged, and a section of the wall beside them cracked open. A flood of strange green energy spilled out, bathing the chamber in an eerie light. Ethan froze, calculating the risk. The energy was dangerous, but it also offered an opportunity. With a deep breath, he lunged forward, pushing the girl into the glow. Her pulse intensified, resonating with the energy, and a surge shot through the station. A section of debris blocking the hatch exploded outward, creating a clear path. Small payoff but critical. Ethan grinned briefly before focusing on the final obstacle, the hatch itself. It was heavy, reinforced, and stuck from years of neglect. He pressed his shoulder against it, feeling the station shake beneath him. The girl's glow pulsed in rhythm with his effort, almost like encouragement. He pushed harder, sweat running down his face, muscles straining until the hatch shuddered and gave way. Fresh air rushed in, carrying a smell of ozone and distant rain. Freedom was just beyond the threshold. Ethan lifted the girl into his arms, her glowing form illuminating the small chamber around them. He took a cautious step outside and felt the weight of the station pressing behind him. Danger wasn't gone, it had been outrun, but the threat still existed. Outside, the world was strange and alien. The ground was cracked, jagged, and covered in a faint metallic sheen. In the distance, the ruins of the station sprawled across the horizon, smoke curling from broken towers. The girl looked around, her glow softening, and let out a sound that was almost a sigh of relief. Ethan smiled, feeling a sharp, emotional payoff. He had saved her. Against impossible odds, he had chosen to act, to take the risk, to fight. But their relief was short-lived. From above, a faint whirring sound grew louder. Ethan looked up. A shadowy fleet hovered in orbit, scanning the planet below. Their sensors swept over the landscape, lights flashing intermittently. The girl stiffened, her glow flaring as if sensing the ship's presence. Ethan's chest tightened. Whoever had wanted her wasn't finished yet. She was rare, valuable, and dangerous in ways others would exploit. He took a deep breath, steadying both himself and the girl. "We made it this far," he said, voice firm, "and we'll keep going." Her glow pulsed in agreement, radiating a quiet, unspoken promise of partnership. Ethan realized that this was only the beginning, not just of survival, but of discovery. The girl's abilities, the station, the fleet, they were all threads in a larger puzzle that he hadn't even begun to understand. As they moved away from the station's wreckage, Ethan scanned the horizon. Small details emerged, distant shapes that hinted at abandoned alien settlements, strange energy readings pulsing from the planet's core, and faint traces of movement that suggested they were not alone. His mind raced, connecting possibilities. This girl was more than a survivor, she was a key to something vast, something that could change the balance between humans and other species. He kept walking, careful, alert, every step a mix of strategy and instinct. The girl's light guided them, flickering in response to unseen energies and potential threats. Ethan realized she had begun teaching him, showing him that survival wasn't just about fleeing, it was about understanding, connecting, and using what you had in unexpected ways. Every pulse, every glow was a lesson. Then a sudden vibration shook the ground beneath them. Ethan dropped slightly to brace, the girl's glow spiking in alarm. From the distance, a figure moved, a humanoid silhouette but taller and more angular than any human. It moved with purpose, slow but precise, as if scanning for life forms. Ethan's mind clicked immediately. They had been seen. Someone, or something, was tracking them. He adjusted his hold on the girl, taking a defensive stance. But fear didn't paralyze him, it sharpened him. He had acted when others hesitated, outsmarted drones and shadows, and faced impossible odds. This was another test, another layer of danger, but he was ready. Human courage, intelligence, and determination had carried them this far, and would carry them further. The girl's glow pulsed steadily now, synchronized with his heartbeat, radiating calm confidence. Ethan understood that they were stronger together. Whatever came next, they would face it united. The shadow of the station and the fleet above might still hunt them, but they had already beaten worse. A sudden flash in the distance caught his eye, a faint signal, green and pulsing, coming from deep in the alien ruins. The girl stiffened, her glow intensifying, almost guiding Ethan toward it. Questions flooded his mind. What was the signal? Who had sent it? Could it be a friend, or another danger? Ethan clenched his fists, determination flaring. Whatever it was, they would face it together. He had already saved her once, and he would do it again if necessary. The station behind them was only the beginning. The world ahead was vast, dangerous, and full of mystery. And in that moment, with the girl's light steady in his arms and the horizon stretching wide before them, Ethan knew one thing clearly: humans could shine even against impossible odds. Courage, intelligence, and compassion weren't just words. They were actions, and they had just written the first chapter of a far larger story. Above, the fleet shifted, sensors scanning, but Ethan didn't flinch. He took a deep breath, stepped forward, and began walking toward the pulsing green signal. The girl's glow flickered brighter with every step, as if urging him onward. They had survived the station. The real adventure was just beginning.